sees the shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall. Mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines. Aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night. Ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal for long, we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
All right.
All right. It's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Yes. I've been working hard all day today.
Woo woo.
Yeah. We just sold 20 something chickens and and so we had to break down their coop and their run and everything.
Send them on their way.
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's a new chapter because we're selling the homestead and
yeah,
gonna try to buy another one.
Hey, we got a great show tonight.
Yes.
We have Elena. I think it's Elena or Elena. I can't.
No, we was gonna ask.
I forgot to ask.
You did. Shame on you, Jason.
I know.
I'm blaming you. So, hey, Shell.
Hello, everybody in the chat room. So she is a quantum healer and a life guide dedicated to helping individuals heal and navigate their current life paths and other timelines.
That's
so
interesting.
Yeah, it is. So drawing on a wealth of diverse experiences, including angelic encounters, cryptids, and supernatural. I want to hear those encounters. And personal miracles and near-death experiences. So she offers a unique insight and guidance, and her various clairs are active, enabling her at times to channel concepts and answers. Currently, her focus is on assisting people in navigating intense energies during this period of awakening and facilitating the healing of old paradigms, false belief systems, and energy blocks that hinder soul growth and on a quantum level.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we're going to bring her on. So, hello.
Hi.
So, do you pronounce that Elena or Elena?
Elena. Either way is fine, but it's Elena. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Make sure. I didn't want to mess it up too bad.
Oh, no. Can't mess that one up too bad. Thanks for having me on, though, guys. It's great to be here. Just going to kind of see where the conversation goes. Yeah. You said there was a few things you wanted to ask me about or hear about, and I can be kind of lengthy in my explanation of things, so I will try to nip that and make things a little shorter this evening. So
that's all right. We're all learning, so
yeah,
lengthy is needed for those of us who may not know exactly what it is that you're talking about.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started in all this? Were you born into it, or did it just come to you later?
No, I was born with many gifts, and I just want to say, first off, I'm just going to explain my world the way that I see it. People don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. Everybody has their own spiritual beliefs and religious beliefs, and that's great. Yep. I'm not here to convince anybody of what I believe or anything else. But back to my earliest childhood memories, like I've always known, I was born knowing that Christ was real. It wasn't anything anybody had to teach me. Although I had family members that thought they were teaching me about him, but like I already knew who he was. It was something that I brought through the veil with me when I incarnated into this planet. And, but I've always had gifts. They were not, I could always read the room. Like even as a 3-year-old, like I could read the room. I knew what was going on. Right. And, as I got older, my intuitive capabilities came more online, got stronger. And then I've been through just a lot of different traumatic experiences and different things in my life. And every time I've had like a near death experience where I've actually crossed over and come back, my gifts have become stronger. I took 3 years off recently. I just got back into working with people, which I never really stopped. I stopped taking appointments and I stopped working with my clientele, but I still had friends and clients that had become friends that stood by me during the last 3 years of just intense healing. I had some physical stuff going on, but mostly it was what people call shadow work. It was really healing my own intense traumas and past life stuff, which that's a whole nother subject, because the way I understand it now is that past life stuff is not past life stuff, or that we are actually living concurrent lives on different timelines. But, I had to really rein all that in. And now I'm like much more ready. I'm much healthier physically, and I'm just way more ready to be back in the game. And I've learned just recently, just in the last couple weeks, I've had a download about quantum healing, and another way that I could incorporate a certain type of healing energy, sending it to people. Because usually I'm just having a conversation with someone. We start working on their family lines and traumas in their family lines, or traumas that they personally have. But I recently was shown something else I could do, and I've been playing with like balls of energy between my hands, and I've been doing like 15 to 20-minute meditations, and I've been sending that out to some of the people I've been working with. And I just had a woman last week I worked with back east. She had a stroke back, it's almost been a year, back in August of 2024. And her left side is completely debilitated, and she's very young. She's like in her early 40s. And so, and she basically, it's turned her whole life upside down. And now she's kind of in a home where she's in a wheelchair and she has to have care and everything. So, but she was the first person I did it to my dog first, because you can send energy to any living being, right? And it wasn't that I was worried it was going to hurt anybody. I was just seeing, and it actually helped him a lot, because one of my dogs has a lot of health issues too. So I tried it for her, and I got her permission to send her healing before I even called her. And I called her to have our conversation and to go over, all kinds of things to facilitate, further healing for her. But I got her permission, because that's always a big thing. You have to have someone's permission. You can always send somebody, light and love, but as far as healing energy and stuff like that, there are certain lines drawn in the universe. My guides just said there are certain rules, and you can't take someone's free will away. So you have to get permission for things like that. But anyway, I got her permission. I worked on her for a half hour before I called her. And then when I called her, and she didn't know that I was doing that. She just knew that I was starting the healing, but she didn't know exactly what I was doing. And I was really concentrating on her left side and just sending her this light. I had opened myself as the conduit for the light to flow to her. And I'm in Idaho, so I think she's 5 or 6 states away from me. And she's way back there. But I asked her if she had noticed anything over the last half hour, and she said she was so excited, because she was like, oh my gosh, she's like, I felt pain and tingling in my left big toe. And she said, I haven't felt anything on my left side since the stroke. Nothing, no pain, no nothing. So that was really awesome. And I have, you know, I've been sending her energy every couple days, and I'm going to actually, because I got permission to do that, and I'm going to get an update on her in the next few days. But anyway, then we had our normal healing conversation, where just different things come up. When I'm talking to someone, I will see things, I will hear things, I will see things about their ancestors. I will, you know, if they're carrying a lot of shame energy or guilt energy or whatever, I'll know like what percentage, you know, they picked up in this lifetime, or is from another lifetime, or is from an ancestor that's been passed down. So it's very interesting. Quantum healing is amazing. And I got started with basically in 2014. I was in my second marriage, and my gifts had come pretty strongly online at that point. But I've had 2 near-death experiences since then that that facilitated them coming on full bore, and I'm sure they could even awaken more. My guides just said, you know, you're not full bore yet, and that's fine. I'm happy with where they're at. I don't know if I want them to be completely, you know, open, but anyway, and I was drawn to the modality of releasing emotions and past traumas and different things like that. I didn't really know what to call it yet. It was like emotion code work, and some of your viewers might be familiar with that. And then I read a few books that just made a lot of sense to me. And one of them was a near-death experience book. Her name at the time was Julie Rowe. Now it's Julie Barnett. And so I've been working with her for several years. I call her my mentor. She's amazing. She's so much more than that, but she has really helped me to understand better, along with my gifts, like, you know, who I am, what my mission is. And I mean, she never tells you that, but she facilitates you learning, so to speak. But she's also a profound healer. I think she's the foremost healer on the planet, honestly. But anyway, so that's basically how I got started. I started realizing that I have the ability to do these things because I have insights and I can see, and I've had, you know, angelic experiences. I've had experiences with Christ. I died in childbirth during a C-section, and came back from that. I don't know how many times I died while I had we'll just say the virus. It was many. The third time I got it, I was sick for several months, and I just was refusing to go to the hospital. I'm like, no, because by this point, my guides had facilitated so much healing in my body that the house we were living in, I got shoved down a stairwell by a dark, a low vibrational entity, we'll just say. And I broke my foot. I cracked like 3 bones in my foot. And I was in massive amounts of pain. But like my guides, I could hear them so clearly. And they're like, because when it happened, it was wintertime, and I had a very tight laced up boot. It was like a moccasin boot. And it was very, you know, and they just said, don't take it off, leave it on, you know, it'll mitigate the swelling. And they actually helped me through that whole healing process. It happened like 10 days before Thanksgiving. And, you know, that's when I started learning that I could ask them to energetically transfer pain medication to me. Like anything that's of the earth, they can do that. So any natural pain medication, you can ask for that to be transferred. You can ask for vitamins and minerals to be transferred. You can ask for all kinds of things. The quantum field is amazing, and working with your angels, you know, and your team is amazing. They can pretty much do anything. Anyway, I had an experience where I asked them, I was like, can you guys please work on this? And my kids, you know, my adult kids were like mad. They wanted me to go to the hospital. They wanted me to do all this stuff. And I was just like, you know, I don't need to, because I literally laid in bed, asked for the healing, and I was able to see, not with my naked eyes, but with my mind's eye, I was able to see 3 of my angelic team over my foot, and I could feel them working on my foot, and they healed it. Like, and it was a mess. I've got pictures of it. It was a mess. And that's why my kids were so mad. You know, I've got three kids, and they were just like, you need to go to the doctor. And I said, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to x-ray it. And I'm like, yeah. And then what are they going to do? I said, I already know. I said, it's not completely broken, but there are 3 bones that are, you know, like fractured, you know, and I had strained the ankle as well. So it was just a mess. And I was like, it's going to heal, you know? So I healed from that. And that really taught me, so that when I had the virus, I was just like, I'm not going to the hospital, because for me personally, I just don't trust a lot of doctors. Doctors are not innately bad human beings or anything, but they're not taught correctly. They're taught very little on the healing spectrum. They're not taught anything like what I'm talking about, you know, and I mean, they're still pushing the food pyramid, for goodness sakes. Like, they're not, you know, and they, you know, and they're like pushers for the pharmaceutical companies. So I just don't like doing it. And at the time, all the hospitals were shut down, and, you know, they wanted you to stick stuff up your nose and all this different stuff. And I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing any of that. But anyway, my guides, I just got to a point, because I was crossing back and forth through the veil, meaning I was dying. Like, I'd be dead for a couple minutes and I'd come back, right? Because I'd be on the other side, and I was negotiating, like, because one of my daughters was pregnant with my first grandchild at the time. And so I was negotiating, like, I don't, you know, this would be really unfair if you called me back now. Like, I really want to be here. Because I had already foreseen some stuff with my daughter's labor that was upcoming, and I wanted to be there to be an advocate for her and to be a go-between between her and the doctors, and not let the doctors do to her what they had done to me, which had killed me, you know. So I was just like, I really want to, I'm sorry, just one second. They're shooting off fireworks. We've got all these demonstrations. I live just outside of Boise. Hey, stop. But, so, anyway, that was another time, because I was back and forth through the veil, and my guides were just like, okay, here's the deal. If you want to stay, you've got to go get hydrated at the hospital, because at this point you need like massive fluids. Like, you're so dehydrated, because this had gone on for about 7 weeks, and I couldn't drink fluid. Very little fluid stayed down. Most of it I would just vomit, you know. I was very, very ill, and my internal organs were shutting down. And I had gotten to a point where I was in a lot of pain. So I went to the hospital, I acquiesced, and they were like, they wanted me to start taking all this different medication and everything. And they did MRIs and x-rays, and apparently I had double pulmonary embolisms in both lungs. I had 2 I had 2, like, I believe it was quarts of fluid that was surrounding my internal organs, which is what happens when your internal organs start to shut down. And so they had to drain that. They had to get me hydrated, and then they wanted me to take all this medication. And I was like, yeah, no, thank you. And they were so convinced I was gonna die, and I was like, I'm not gonna die. And the doctors, there was one in particular, he got really mad, and I was just like, I'm not gonna die. And he's like, yes, you are. Oh, and my heart was like, I had what's called tachycardia, meaning my resting heart rate was up over 100, and it had been that way for several weeks. It was another thing from the virus. And he's like, if you don't take this medication, your heart's going to give out and you're going to die, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. And so I didn't. Obviously, I'm still here. But like I knew, because of my communication with the other side, and because I knew that there were still so many people that I, you know, we kind of, not kind of, my guide just said, we make contracts, or you could say pacts, with other souls before we even incarnate to this earth. And we, even if it's just, hey, I'm going to see you on such and such a time at such and such a date, and you're going to hold the door open for me, even if it's just as simple as that. But we do have all these intertwining just contracts and energies and things throughout our lifetime that we're oblivious, like we don't understand really. Mm-hmm. But it's part of how interconnected all of our energies really are. And so yeah, anyway, I got started helping and healing and working on people and clearing energies. And I also have the ability of like mediumship, which comes through on occasion. So if I'm in a session with somebody, and I don't claim to be a medium because it's not something I seek after, and I have personal reasons for that. But at times, if I'm in a session with someone, a lot of times I can see in my mind's eye, I'll be able to see their angelic team. And sometimes I can see another like ancestor or something, like standing, next to them or behind them or whatever. My uncle passed away a couple years ago, and he was in another state when he passed away, but I was able to see, I was talking to my aunt. She was there with him right before he passed away. And I told her, I said, well, Grandma's there with them, because I could see her there. And so I do have that ability at times as well, but it usually comes through in a personal session with someone. And then, and usually it's because the person wants to give whoever my session is with a message of comfort or something to help them heal and to help them clear energy, basically. So, yeah. And there's definitely a dark side to energy. Energy is energy, but there are those who manipulate it to do not good things. And there are those who work with it, like me, who only work with it for light purposes. Personally, I'm not into casting spells, and I'm not throwing shade on, everybody has their own path. But for me, I'm not into like casting spells and doing stuff like that, because sometimes that stuff can boomerang back onto you. Mm. So I don't deal with any of that. I deal with angelic light beings, and I am just the conduit. They show me what to ask for when I'm working on someone, and I ask for that. And so it's like the energy flows through me. I'm the conduit. And then the healing actually comes from Heavenly Mother and Father, which is, Yeshua and Sophia. So again, my own personal belief system. I've had, other experiences with angelic beings. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Cryptids, quantum healing? Like, what do you want? It's like up to you. I've been talking for a bit here.
No, you're fine. You said something earlier that, about a month ago, we did a show on cheating death at the quantum level.
Okay.
And earlier you said something that just rang a bell, and it was funny because you said that you know, when we die and we come back, or we're living multiple lives at the same time through multiple life, you know, time,
Dimensions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we talked about during that show was the fact that we're living multiple timelines at the exact same time.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I mean, if you want to elaborate on that, that'd be awesome, because it
Yeah.
actually hits on something that we talked about before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
it's
basically, the way that I understand it is that so like one of the things I'm always telling my clients to be a sovereign being and to take back your power and stand in your power and sovereignty. Um, you know, one of the main things to that is you call back your power from every level, layer, realm, and dimension, and you call back your soul parts and pieces, whether they've been given away, whether they've been um, stolen from you, because that happens. There, I mean, the universe, the multiverse is a big place, and there are entities out there that, you know, they try to steal our energy, and so sometimes, say you have a body in another dimension or on another timeline that passes away, they will abscond with that energy. And so the big, you know, what I always advise my clients is to call your soul parts and pieces back. I do that every morning when I'm grounding and, you know, in my prayer sessions. Um, and it really does help, and it makes you much stronger. It makes it more difficult. I also put up shields. It makes it more difficult for lower vibrational entities to attach to you and to get into your field. But as far as the multiple timelines, yeah, so the way I understand it is we do have different bodies living on different, in different dimensions and on different timelines. So I'm going to incorporate something into this right now. My guides are telling me to. They're like, don't forget, tell them about the smoke. So the last couple weeks, and this happened last year in August for a couple weeks, but the last couple weeks um, prior to this conversation, I have been smelling other dimensions that are pretty close to this dimension that have been collapsing. And it's a horrible smell. It's very acrid. It it smells like a house fire, you know, like chemicals and wood and paint, and you know, just it's not a good smell, and it's been keeping me up at night. So I've been having, you know, I've been asking my team, like, okay, I understand that there's a timeline that's close by that has collapsed, which probably means I have a body in that timeline. And so that's how I'm physically smelling it in this body, is I'm smelling it from that body. Okay. And so, but it was very bothersome, and I'm not filled with fear around it. It is what it is. You know, we're in the times that we're in. It's, you know, whatever. I don't let it bother me. But I had to ask them to make it stop, because it was to the point where I was walking around with my hand over my face in my house. Like, I would have to cover my mouth with like cloth or a pillow, like, and you can't sleep like that, right? Because you have to breathe. So, they were just like, you know, so they stopped it. But I find it interesting because I feel like I feel like I'm back on a timeline right now that I worked very hard to get off of. And if I am, then that's, I mean, we create our own reality. And if I am, that's fine. Um, that's my purpose then. So that's, you know, I'm not going to fight against it, although I am still trying to manifest myself off this current timeline. And we do that through different decisions, different thoughts, everything we do, you know, if we stay positive, you know. But I've been getting sucked down the past couple weeks with all the garbage that's been going on. And now this weekend, things have really intensified. You know, we got the Iran Israel thing going on. We got, you know, the nationwide um, conflicts going on, you know, like there's a lot going on. And I try to stay out of it. I don't watch the news or anything, but I am on YouTube, and so I'll see things pop up, and I'm just like, oh, great, you know. So, but but yes, that is the reality of it. We do have bodies in different dimensions or timelines, or different dimensions and timelines, my guides just said, because they're actually, that's two separate things. Um, and it's all to facilitate our growth. It's to expedite, they're saying, our growth, and our learning on the planet. So, I know there's a lot of religions that believe that, you're only here once and then you die and then that's it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the way that I understand it. And that doesn't even make sense, really, because even when you leave this body, you go into another body. Spirit matter, you still have a body when you cross over. It's just it's more ethereal. It's not as heavy and dense as the physical body we have now.
Well,
So
even science tells us, through thermodynamics that energy can't be destroyed, and we are
no,
energetic. And
yes, we are.
you can measure the energy that's in a person, and so
Yes,
thermodynamics says that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So therefore, it has to go somewhere upon
exactly.
when
And
this body goes away.
our heart center puts off weight. Like, I think the consensus used to be in the scientific community that our brain puts off the most energy and everything, but it's actually our heart that does. Our heart projects out and into a wide area around us. And then, like, animals have that as well. Like horses put off um, one of the widest ranges of energy fields from the heart. And that's why you see these different programs with kids who have different learning disabilities or stuff. There's several of them across the United States where they call it, horse therapy, and the kids are able to go and be with the animals, or vets that are suffering from PTSD. There's a lot of that, and it's because the horse's magnetic field that comes off of their heart is just huge, and it's very intense. Horses are amazing animals. So yeah, all of that is it's very true, and energy cannot be destroyed. And when I'm working on someone and there are deposits of dark energy in their system, their physical body, whether it's in the way of a virus or whatever, what I do is I ask for that to be transformed and removed. And I ask for it to be translated, transmuted, and transposed. Because at that point, you're asking for the energy of that lower vibrational energy that's within them to change. You're asking it to change into light energy. And then if it refuses to change or to leave the body, I give it a chance, because even viruses and bacteria, believe it or not, have free will. Okay, so I give them the choice to change. And then if they decide not to change, not to transmute, then I do it anyway. I facilitate that through the angelic team. And I just say, change that, flip that back out into the field, and repurpose that energy. So it's quantum healing. A lot of people call it energy healing. I call myself anything from an energy practitioner to a healer. Currently, I'm calling myself a life guide, because honestly, I don't know there are so many things I can help people walk through. I've helped people prepare to cross through the veil and not be afraid, and help them clear energy around that, because, they had a debilitating disease. I've helped people, and I've helped people do that even before I started working on people as a quantum healer. I was in a position, in a job where I was in the field, and I worked with people who were severely ill in their homes. And I knew, like, I could tell if they were getting ready to cross through the veil. And so we would have conversations, and I would kind of prepare them for it. And, so and then I've helped people get over the loss of a loved one, or I've helped people navigate a divorce. I've helped people, like, you name it, I can help with it, because I've gone through like all of those things in my own lifetime. And every time something would happen to me, every time there was another illness, every time there was another surgery, every time there was another near-death experience or another car accident or whatever, and most of those, by the way, I was not driving, but every time I would ask afterward, like, why? Like, I know I'm here for a reason, but what is it? I'm not understanding what it is I'm supposed to learn or what it is I'm supposed to do. And then I finally came to the understanding that it's because I all of the abilities that I've had since birth, and then how they've gotten stronger and stronger over the years, is to help other people. And I finally understand at the age I am now, and with all this, life experience under my belt, oh, that's why I went through those 2 divorces and dealt with, narcissistic abuse and all these other things, because now I can help and facilitate healing for other people to to push through that energy and to release those energies,
Right.
So I don't regret any of it. I'm at a place where I'm really good with everything I've gone through, which is a phenomenal place to be. It's, you're not angry, you're just, it is what it is,
Yep.
Um,
Let it go.
but yeah, exactly. And just find joy. My guys are saying, my biggest advice to people these days is just find joy where you're at, regardless. Just be thankful for the things you have, regardless of whatever your financial situation is or anything else. Just find joy and be grateful. And that goes a long way, because when you're angry and you're full of fear, one, you're drawing that energy and those lower vibrational energies to you. And so it just compounds the effect. But when you're joyful and when you're grateful, you're drawing good things into your timeline. You're creating a better timeline for yourself. So yeah, like, I thought we had to move a few weeks ago, about a month ago. They said we had to move. We thought we were going to be here 2 or 3 years because we rent the house we're in. And I was upset at first for about 24 hours. I was pissed and I was upset. And I'm like, man, because they gave us 2 months notice, but we'd only been in this house for 10 months, And I had planned on being here a few years because I hate moving. And, and I had made that clear when we moved in. And then the owner was like, oh, I have to take back the house. And then it was like, okay, so I let it go. I like really let it go, and I wasn't angry at her anymore. I'm like, hey, we're all walking our own path. Like, whatever she's got to do. Like, I was just like, take care of this. I was just telling my guys, all right, I'm leaving this up to you. I'm not stressing over it. I want a house like this house. I want it to be for about the same amount of money, and all this stuff. And because we have animals and everything. And because I'm also helping to raise my granddaughter, and 2 of my children, my adult children, live with me. We all work, but the cost of living is like so expensive right now that, like, rather than, struggle in our own individual apartments, we just rent like nice, decent houses, like where we can have our animals. And my granddaughter has a yard to play in and stuff like that. Like, we'd rather just cohabitate and pool our money together, because
Right.
you can get a better place to live that way,
Yep.
So, but anyway, like, once I just let it go, and then within like a couple weeks, and I kept thinking I should really start packing. And my guys were just like, nah, just chill, And I'm like, all right. And then I get this phone call out of the blue, and they're like, oh, you don't have to move anymore. And oh, by the way, the owner would be happy for you to stay, and he's willing to give you a 2-year lease. So I truly believe that if I would have kept stressing on it,
Mhm.
that would not have been able to come about.
Right, because that would be new reality.
Yes, that would have been my new reality.
Yep, you would have
Yes.
manifested that reality instead of the one that you ended up manifesting. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And, I have a lot of clients that work with me just on manifestation techniques. And it's like, well, you got to be happy,
Yep.
and you can't stress on things.
Nope.
You just have to know that it's going to
First
work
teach you
out.
what you most think about. So if you're thinking about, oh man, I don't want to move. Well, it's guess what? You're going to move because
Yeah.
that's all you're thinking
Yep.
about is moving.
Yep. Anything that starts with an I am sentence too. That's what I'm always telling people that, like, if you're saying I am broke or I am sad or I am sick or I am unhealthy, then that is what it's going to be.
Yep.
If you flip that energy and say I'm healthy, even if you've got, like, say, issues with your knees or something, nope, I'm completely healthy. Pretty soon your body and the cells of your body will start to go in line. They will start to line up with the thoughts that
Yes.
you are creating, because you are creating that reality for yourself. If you say, I'm abundant, well, maybe you have $1 in the bank, but you do have food in the kitchen, and you have a roof over your head, then you're abundant. You don't compare your abundance to other people's.
Nope.
So it's really important to do that. It makes a big difference in our reality. I think I answered your questions about the timelines, but did you want to go more in depth about that? Was there something else with that?
We got a question from one of the people in the chat room.
Sure.
Baby girl Casper says, how can I ask how you navigate healing from a loss of a loved one?
That I'd be happy to talk to her. I think my phone number should be on the screen. I have been doing free 45-minute sessions with people because I'm trying to help the collective heal. So, and then if somebody wants to tip me after the session, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine too. I'm trying to help. That isn't a question. That's a very in-depth question, and it depends on her, and it depends on the circumstances that she's dealing with. Like, right off the bat, I'm getting that she's had other circumstance. She's lost a loved one more than once, and so she's there's a lot of trapped emotion there. I'll just say that. I don't want to out all her personal stuff, but I'd be happy to talk to her and anybody else who's listening. That's what I'm doing these days.
She says she can't sleep. Yep.
She said what?
She can't sleep.
Yeah. I would, first of all, when you're having problems sleeping, you can ask, and I really want people to understand this. Each one of us has an angelic team, regardless of whether you believe in that or not. It's the reality of things. We each have an angelic team. Some of us have one, some of us have two. Usually we all have at least two. Sometimes we have three, sometimes we have four. It has to do with what we asked for before we incarnated into this, into the earth and into this body. So you can ask your angelic team to please energetically transfer into your system things that will help you sleep, like such as melatonin or CBD or whatever. Just say, whatever my system would most benefit from, can you please help me do this, and energetically transfer it. And then breath work. If you do deep breathing for, 5 minutes when you're having insomnia, because that's something I used to struggle with a lot, that helps as well. Okay. But I do see that, like, I'm feeling that she's got a lot of, there's some ancestral stuff that's been passed down too. There's wounding. I just heard, ancestral wounding, and, there's a lot of stuff that I'd be more than happy to help her clear. So
She says she misses his snoring. LOL.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't
What
find
I-
your number
Well,
on.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he hasn't, um how do I put this? When I tell people they haven't gone anywhere, then they worry that they haven't gone to heaven or whatnot. But let me just give you a little explanation of how this works. So anytime you think about someone, you are creating an energetic cord to them, and vice versa. Okay. You attach your energy to theirs. So if you're thinking about a loved one that has passed on, you are basically attaching your energy to theirs and you are calling them in. Okay. And and I feel like he's already there. He's like around her a lot. So, and that's probably because she's thinking about him a lot. But just as we have the ability to be in different dimensions and different timelines at the same time, that doesn't change when our energy physically transfers and becomes more ethereal and thinner. It doesn't change. So, I hope that is comforting for her. And my guides are saying, to tell her that she can talk to him. He does hear you. Our loved ones hear us when we speak to them. Again, it's that energy transfer. They do hear us. Time is very different on the other side of the veil than it is here. We tend to think of it as linear, it's just this life and time goes from point A to point B, but it really doesn't. It's everything is happening now. So if you're talking to someone that has passed on, they are hearing you in the now. They really do. They do hear you. So
Hmm.
hopefully that helps her. And again, I know everybody has different belief systems, and that's fine, but this is my world. Like, this is how I understand things.
Right.
And yeah, so
I align with what you're putting down because I feel the same thing exactly.
yeah.
You know, getting back to what we were saying a little bit ago, though, it's really crazy. So when we did our show before, talking about this subject, now I guess you can put this a little bit better. We kind of put it as in, so say you're dreaming. Not all the times are your dreams not real. Sometimes that's you on other timelines
Oh yeah, for
or
sure.
other universes. And sometimes when you dream that you have died and you swear you just died. I
Yeah.
mean, in that dream, you just died. That,
Mm-hmm.
that was actually a death of you in one of the other timelines.
Yes, that's correct. And then there's like, so I don't even call it dreaming anymore, because really we're not dreaming. Our physical body just goes into a state of like, uh, for lack of a better word, my guides are saying stasis, like,
Mhm.
because the physical body has its own constraints and it needs to rest, but our spiritual body does not. Like, it travels and it can do other things. Um, and generally, when we travel from the body, we still are anchored by a cord to our body, right? We still have an
Mhm.
energetic cord to our physical body.
Right.
But I had some interesting things going on this morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I went back to sleep, and I wasn't really sleeping, and it was very vivid. And I've been kind of trying to decipher that stuff all day, what was going on. But yes, that is very much true. That can happen. And um, I know Rob on his channel has talked about that a lot. And he says, when sometimes these dreams are so vivid that he feels like he's somewhere else, and it feels like he's there for months, and it feels like he's living a whole nother life there, like he has kids there and a family, and then he'll wake up in the body in this timeline. And I've had that same discussion with him. Well, yeah, because you do, you do, and what's happening now, which is what I'm really trying to help people navigate is the veil is thinning. There are many different portals that have been opening up, and the veil is getting super thin. And, that is talked about in scripture too, but I don't want to go into scripture, but some things in scripture are true, and that's one of them. And the veil is thinning, and the earth is has begun its ascent, not descent. And there are many timelines that are going to be collapsing, and there are many that will not, that will go on and continue on the earth as the earth continues to ascend. So, where was I going with that? I got lost. Sorry. I go down rabbit holes and then, um, but, um, but yeah, there's many different, portals and energy, and there's all this different stuff. So the veil is thinning. And so people's dreams, as I've been talking to people recently, especially over the past 6 months, people's dreams have been becoming extremely more vivid. They're remembering more, and I've had clients tell me, I haven't remembered any of my dreams for 20 years. And now all of a sudden I'm remembering them, and they're super vivid, and they're super clear, like what's going on. Well, we've got portals opening. We've got all this light energy flooding the planet. We also have lower vibrational portals that are open that are also trying to flood the planet. We've got all these planetary alignments. We've got, there's so much going on in our, not just in our planet, but my guides are telling me a ton of stuff. So we have access points into our bodies, and those are opening. We have it's not just that there's these access points and portals that are being opened on the earth, but we have access points and portals within our physical systems that are coming online and that are opening up. And so it's all to facilitate the greater knowledge and what everybody's calling, the awakening, right? Because we're just getting flooded with knowledge. I mean, if you look at stuff 3 or 4 years ago, yeah, you could keep up. Like, I was pretty good at keeping up with all the new stuff that was being talked about, and quantum physics stuff, and CERN and all that crap, and all that they were doing. But now, ever since the last, we'll just notate it this way, ever since not the current administration, but the one before it, ever since that whole thing happened in 2020, it was kind of like a debacle that switched our timelines a little bit. And I'm not political. I'm not taking one side or the other, because I see I see both sides for what they are. So I won't go there. Yeah. But ever since that happened, it really shifted things. And then we were getting, thank you, my guides are saying, information overload. We were being inundated daily with 30 or 40 different things that we hadn't heard, or that were compounding onto stuff that we already knew. And it was really stressing people out, and that's what it was meant to do. And then we were being hit with all these frequencies and the 5G, and they really started pushing all that, and then you go into the stuff they spray on us, and the fluoride they put in our water, which gums up our pineal gland. And there's so much that has been pushed on us to make us, my guides are saying, far less the superior beings that we were created to be. Yeah. And it really, yeah, totally. And but now we're having a lot of stuff come back online. It's our people are starting to wake up, not everyone. There are a lot of people who are really stuck in the negative loops that they push through the media, and that they push through different agendas politically and everything. There's a lot of people stuck in those negative loops, but there's a lot of people that aren't. There's a lot of people that are really understanding, and there's a lot of people that their spiritual gifts are opening up, because that's the thing, is we all have them. We all have the ability, to speak to each other telepathically and all this different stuff. We really do. It's just, like I said, with all the aforementioned things, they've gummed up that ability. They've lied to us about our origins. They've lied to us about so much that it's hard for people to even fathom who we really are now, which is sparks of divinity. We have the sparks of divinity within us. We are divine beings of light. And whether we choose low vibrational darkness, that's our free will and our choice, but we were created as divine beings of light. So
Right.
that's just the reality of it. But yeah.
Charlotte says she loves you.
Oh, hi, Charla.
And Shell says, how can we open ourselves to become our higher self and our gifts?
There's a lot to that. Basically, meditation, connecting with your angelic team. That's where I would start. There's a lot to it, but a lot of people's gifts are just starting to come online regardless. They're not sure. They don't know what to do with it. Like for me, like clairaudience is probably one of the favorite gifts I have, right? Because I hear my angelic team. And most people have that ability, but they don't think they're hearing their angelic team. They think it's just them. They think it's just them in their head saying stuff or whatever. And it's not. And, they won't tell you what to do. Like, I'm not going to say what happened, but let's just say this. Last week, I went into my backyard, and as I was walking out the back to go do my meditation and ground, barefoot on my lawn and everything, and sit in my little lawn chair, I was like, and I'm sure Charlotte and anybody else that knows me is laughing right now because they know what I'm not going to say. But my guides they were like, hey, you should grab one of your phones and take them with you. And I never take my phones outside when I do that because I don't want interruption. And I was just like, yeah, well, I'm just going outside to do this. I'm only going to be out here like 20 minutes. I don't need my phone. And they said it again, and they don't normally do that. And I blew it off. I blew them off completely. Well, it turns out I got myself in a situation in the backyard, and it was 90 degrees that day. It was hot because by the time I went out there to do all this, it was about 11:30. I was stuck in the backyard for 2 hours in the baking sun, no water. I was trapped, and nobody could hear me in the house. Now, had I had my phone with me, right, I would have been able to call somebody in the house to come and help me, but I didn't have my phone. So yeah, so even me, like we all have free will, right? And your guides, they speak in a like a regular person that doesn't know they're hearing their angelic team would just be like, why did I think that? I don't need my phone, and then they would think it again and be like, oh, I don't need my phone. But that's how they come out, that's how they talk. They're like, hey, you should do this. Hey, it might be, they don't say should because they never tell you what to do, but they do advise. And they were like, it might be a good idea to grab your phone.
This is something we just talked about Thursday.
It is the third man
exactly
syndrome.
the third man factor, the third man syndrome. When you get in that dire situation, you hear other
yes
telling
yes you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You truly do. And generally that is your angelic team. Like they will intervene, and they'll intervene more strongly. If you're not used to hearing them, they will be louder, or it'll come across louder. Or especially if you're in a a life and death situation, like generally they will not ever forcibly intervene without you asking for help, right? But say you're praying or you're asking for help or whatever, then absolutely they will intervene. But if it's life and death and it's not your time to cross through the veil yet, they will do their best to facilitate a miracle. And they can facilitate miracles. And I had one of the most powerful experiences I ever had. Not the most, but it was powerful. It was right before my divorce to my last husband, and didn't know I was getting divorced yet. I was stuck in a religious box that was really curtailing all of my spiritual gifts as they were fully coming online. And it was right prior to my last couple near-death experiences. But I'd already had a couple, and so my gifts were really pretty much online. And I had an experience where I was driving in the truck with my ex-husband, and I don't remember what he was angry about, but he had the tendency to get physical. And I knew it was coming. Like, we were driving and I was scared because we were driving and he was driving erratically and he was screaming at me at the top of his lungs. And I didn't even know I could do this, but I cried out in my mind for help. And all of a sudden I saw a flash, like I saw an angelic being. And then I saw this wall of light go up between he and we were sitting next to each other in the truck. And it was like it was coming from my body, right? This wall of light. And it happened while he was screaming at me, and it literally, all of a sudden, words just quit coming out of his mouth. And he kept opening his mouth to like speak, and he couldn't. And all of a sudden, the look on his face, he looked at me, and there was like all this fear on his face. It literally, the darkness that was within him in that moment, it like shut it down completely. And that was a really powerful experience to have, because I asked for the help, and then literally I saw like this flash, like an angelic being. Like, even just from saying that, I'm seeing it again in my mind's eye. It was like I saw a white sword and like this flash of a being that just came across me, like across my lap. And then there was all this light between he and I. We never discussed it. We both were in shock from it. We both experienced it. It was a totally different experience for me than it was for him, right? Because it made him afraid. It did not make me afraid at all. Like, I was just in awe, you know? And then 5 days later, he left my house, and I slept for about 2 weeks straight, and I was divorced 6 months later. I've never seen him since then. We'd only talked a couple times. He refused to divorce me, so I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to divorce him by myself without him participating. And so our angelic team is very, very, very real. And there was another time I was in a rollover accident. I was driving that time. My F-350 was rolling over, and I was partially ejected out the window, and we were rolling from side to side, right? Not end over end, but side, to side. And I was the only one in the vehicle. I got partially ejected out the window, and I saw the ground coming. And like in that split second, time slowed down. It became so slow, and everything, like there was so much that went through my mind, like, oh my gosh, this is it. My kids are going to have to go with their dad, and their dad is, got all these issues. And because I had custody of my 3 kids, and that wasn't the husband I was just talking about. Their dad was my first husband, and it was before I was married a second time. But I was all this was going through my head, and I was just like, no. And then I just cried out in my mind, and this all happened in a split second, but I was just like, Lord, help me. And all of a sudden I saw him. He was just like right there as the ground was approaching. And as I saw him, somebody, which I believe was one of my angelic team, grabbed me by the leg and pulled me back into the truck. And then when the truck hit down on that rotation where I would have been out the window, it sealed the window and everything shut. So I could no longer fly out of the vehicle. And the truck rolled like 3 more times.
Wow.
And I walked away from that with very, very little injury, like very little injury. Like when the paramedics got there, the truck literally looked like a giant had stepped on the cab of the truck and on part of the bed, and they did not understand how I could still be walking, how I was able to get out of the vehicle. It was just, there were so many miracles around that. I had like just a slight crack in my femur, but it wasn't anything real bad, and I had like a really bad sprained wrist. But
Wow.
yeah, so I mean, our angelic team is real, they really are. And that third man theory you guys were talking about, that I believe is your angelic team, because they will help you get out of situations that especially when they're life and death,
Yeah.
and especially if it's not your time. And they will intervene if it's not your time, even if you don't ask, like whether it's a car accident, and different things. There's a lot, like if you just look up angelic miracles online, there's so many different stories of people,
Well, that show that Jason was talking about, we went over just 8 cases, one of which was a 9/11 case where the guy says that he was on, what was it, like the 80 something floor or something?
Yeah.
Just right above, excuse me, where one of the planes hit. And something told him that he needed to go. And they said that every one of these people says the same thing. It's a loving voice. You can tell it's kind. It's wanting to help. But this
yeah,
guy actually says that it physically grabbed him
yeah,
and moved him towards the exit. And
mm-hmm.
this guy actually ended up being the last person off that high up before the towers collapsed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it. They like with what would happen to me in the rollover, like I felt someone grab my leg, like right behind my knee, and like forcibly pull me back. Like it didn't hurt, but it was a jolt because they pulled me back quick.
Mhm.
Like it was quick. And I know it had to be one of my angelic team. Like there was no one else in the vehicle with me. So it had to be, but yeah, the quantum field, it really does exist, and it really is, energy. Just, it never dies. We're all energy, and there's so much energy out there, and there's so many different planets, there's so many different beings. There's so much.
Mhm.
It's amazing, how much there really is out there that people don't understand because it's been kept from us,
Yep.
like for instance, my guides are saying there are ways, like Atlantis and Lemuria were real places, and a lot of the knowledge from those places is going to start coming out, like unending electricity. They had ways for electricity that is nothing like what we have now.
Mhm.
And it was unending, and it was free. It wasn't something anybody had to pay for or anything. That isn't how it worked back then.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but there's a lot of ancient knowledge that is coming forward. And you know, there is they're wanting me to say something. Hang on. They're saying that mother and father's energy both is rising at this time as well. So, like, people talk about the divine feminine, and I understand the divine feminine to be Heavenly Mother, which is Sophia. And if you look in Gnostic texts and different things, that's a whole nother subject to go down. But Sophia, she is the goddess mother, and Yeshua Christ is the divine masculine. He is the father. And people, where I run into problems is you have all these people that are straight religious zealots. Like, they want to just believe the Bible, and they want to just believe that things are the way they put it in the Bible. But they took a lot out of the Bible. They took so much truth out of there that directly pertains to women in general. And and all of those texts and all of those different things are coming forward now. Now, am I saying that the Bible is completely inaccurate? No, there's a lot of truth in the Bible. But like, for instance, when people, you know, there's a lot of the new wave religious people that, you know, believe in manifestation, and they don't call God God or Christ or anything like that. They call it source, right? Well, the way that I understand it is Christ is the source. He is the source of all healing. He is the source at the center of the energy, the creator of all of the universe. So if you want to call him source, that's fine. Like, that's your prerogative. I don't take offense to it. I used to, but I've cleared all that energy, because it's not about controlling. People can have they can choose to have relationships with divinity however they choose to, or however they choose not to. You know, it's their choice, you know. And I'm that's not my job, is to shove it down anyone's throat. But I just know that I work with light energies, and that I facilitate healing through those light energies, or the source of healing, which, as I understand it, is Yeshua and Sophia. So and there was a time, I'll end with this one. There was a time I thought it was an angelic being. I have since come to understand that it was not an angelic being. It was actually Sophia that came to me. And this was prior to me having understanding of Sophia. But it was right before I got divorced, right after he had left, and I was facilitating the divorce, but it hadn't happened yet. And I was very depressed, and I was ending a very serious illness as well. And I just felt like very alone, but like I knew I wasn't alone, because I'd had, you know, a near-death experience or two by then. And I knew my angelic team was there. But I was just pissed. I was just pissed at how my life had gone. And I felt like I had wasted so many years, you know. And so I was literally just sobbing on my bed, and it turned from light outside. It was dusk, and then it got dark, and I was just laying in just complete darkness in my room. And I was living in northern Idaho at the time. And when it gets dark, it's like dark. And I was just in complete darkness in my room, and I was just crying out. And I said, and I was angry, you know, and I said, I know you're there. I know you're there. You know that I know you're there. You know that I know you're real. But I need some comfort. I want to know. I want to know. I want you to be in the fit. I want to know that you're right here with me, even though I already know, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to crying, because nothing happened. And then I was sobbing and whatnot, having a meltdown. And about, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 more minutes into that meltdown, all of a sudden I felt this very gentle touch. It was a hand, and it was warm. There was no one else in that room with me. My dog was laying with me on the bed next to me on the opposite side. I was laying on my stomach, and I felt a hand just above my knee, on my leg. And it it made me like, because like it startled me, and then I got the intuitive download, like, don't be afraid. And then the hand like lifted off. And I was just, it instantly, like, it changed everything. Like, moving forward from there, I didn't have another meltdown like that, because it was like, I already knew, but like to have an actual physical, manifestation like that of like, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm comforting you. I thought it was my guardian angel. I didn't see it in my mind's eye or anything. But since then I have learned that it was actually, Sophia comforting me. So it was Heavenly Mother. So it's, they are aware of us. And just as our angelic team is aware of us, and they are with us. Um, and a lot of different religious boxes try to tell us that if we do this, we're not going to make it to heaven. If we do that, we're not going to make it to heaven, and blah, blah, blah. And I do believe in the atonement, but the way that I understand the atonement now, atonement to me just means at one-ment, meaning you are understanding that you are at one with the Creator, that you are part of the Creator. The Creator is within you. He's not just without, or she's not just without. Like, they're in you. You're part of that. You're a divine spark. And when you really embrace that, you're able to let go of fear, because it doesn't really matter what happens in this dimension or in any other dimension, because we do not die. There is no death, So, and I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, well, how can you just not be afraid? And it's like, well, because I don't. When you get to a point where you don't fear death, what else is there to fear?
Yep.
I mean, it becomes a silly thing at that point, and I'm not saying people who are afraid are silly. That's not what I'm meaning by that, but yeah. So
Well, they just don't know.
no.
That's where they're at. They're just in that
right.
not knowing
I
state.
used to fear it quite a bit but since we've been doing this and learning as we go and all the things that people have taught us,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really fear it that much anymore, because I know
Yeah.
something else is there.
Well, for
Yeah.
me, I started seeing ghosts at the age of 3.
I've heard you mention that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've seen them my whole life.
Right.
And so I tell people I've had an unfair advantage because I know there's something after this. I don't know
Right.
what. I think, most of us are in the dark about it. I do know there's something else, though. That is
Yes.
the end.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them my whole life. I've seen people, at the age of 3, that I would wake up every morning, almost every single morning at 3:00 in the morning, there would be 3 or 4 people standing in my bedroom. And it's scary. It was scary.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
I'm
scary.
sure.
I remember running out of the bedroom, and these things would follow me, or they
Mm-hmm.
follow me, and I would be screaming, and my mom would be like, "What's going on?" And I would tell her, but of course, no one else could see them, and
Right.
and so
Right.
then we'd go to church, and then the preacher would be like, "Hey, you've got a gift." And at 3, I was like, "You want it?" Because this is scary. I don't want this. And
Yeah.
and so, it was funny. Now looking at it, it's completely different, right? But then
Yeah.
I was like, man, I was mortified. It was probably the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't have too many of those experiences. I did see a lot of orbs though as a child, different colored orbs and things like that. But mainly mine was just a feeling. Like, I could feel if there was another being in the room with me, and I could feel whether it was, um, I mean, I didn't have these words at that time, you know, at 3 or 4 years old, but I could feel whether it was malevolent or whether it was, you know, of the light. And if it was a malevolent feeling, I would do the same thing. I would run to my grandma's room because my grandma mostly raised me and everything, you know, and I'd go climb in bed with her and I'd be like, yeah, there's something in my room. And she'd be like, well, what's in your room? And I'm like, I don't know, but there's something in there, you know, I don't want to be in there, you know. So I think that would have been more traumatic in your position to be able to actually see them at that young of an age.
It was scary. What was funny, looking back on it now, though, what was the funniest part of it is I remember being about 5 years old, and I was in the middle of running and screaming from these things, and I actually, in the middle of it, just kind of stopped and turned around and looked at them and said, "I'm not afraid of you no more."
Yeah.
And then
And that's what they were feeding off of.
yes, and that was the end of it. No more. It
Yeah.
never slept all night long. It never happened again.
Yeah, because once you stood your ground, you took your power back, and then they no longer, because they'll use loopholes to feed on your energy. So come on, Mama, go get in the car. They'll use they will use loopholes to feed on your energy. Like there's all these different laws set in the universe, right? Where theoretically they're not supposed to be able to do that, but they find loopholes to be able to try to steal energy and stuff.
Right.
You know, and even, you know, during my divorce and everything, I had a lot of malevolent energies around me because I'm going to put that right there, because my ex-husband, you know, he carried a lot of dark attachments, and I didn't really realize to the extent, and some of them kind of stayed behind after he left. And you know, I got to a point where I had to stand my ground, and I just had to tell them that they needed to leave, that they didn't have my permission to be there.
Right.
And, you know, when I first started doing that, you know, it's spiritual warfare, right? And when I first started doing it, hang on just 1 second. Okay, let me get this in here, okay? Are you done talking? No, baby, I'm not done talking. I'm still on the phone. You know, Grandma's never done talking. Okay. Because I was waiting for a minute. I know. We're going to go get Auntie Katie. For you, and I know. I know you've been being so good, and you've been watching your show, and you've been being really good taking care of the other puppies and Kitty for me. Love her so much. She's awesome. She's 4, so. But yeah, I would stand my ground with them. Yeah, I'm still on the phone. Shh, just a second, okay? But I would stand my ground, and I would tell them, you know, and then sometimes, like, I would feel the malevolence get stronger. Like they were pissed because I was telling them they couldn't be there, right? And I was standing in my power, and it was something I had never really done with them before. And but I was, at this point, I was learning spiritual warfare, and so but if you just stand up to them, because a lot of people, I've had clients tell me, well, when I stand up to them, the feeling gets worse, you know, maybe something will fly around the house or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but that's like, it's like a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum when that starts happening, because they know that if you stay in your power and you stand your ground, they it and out, I would just stand there and out, and then you know, they'd go away, and then a few days later, you know, they might come back.
It looks like you're cutting in and out. So, are you still there? Hello.
Might have
So-
lost her.
Yeah, we probably lost her.
Anyway,
Maybe she'll come back in a second, but I know she's busy. And
Space.
Hello.
I'm sorry, what?
We lost you there
we
for a
lost you
minute.
for about a minute. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe nope. Okay. Yeah,
So,
I'm driving, but I've got you guys in my little dash thing, so I'm driving hands-free, but I mean, I'm not holding the phone.
Right.
Sorry about that.
No, that's
you
okay.
can you can go ahead and give out where people can find you and stuff. We'll let you go do what you got to do. And
Okay.
And we would love to have you back on for
Yeah.
hopefully a 2-hour show.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And people can reach me at Elena's ElenaSJourney, Elena's Journey 444, and that's at Gmail. And you can also reach me by phone. You can text me if you would like a healing session or a 45-minute free pay as you will session. I'm offering initial sessions for that. And you can text me or you can reach me on the email, but you can also text me at 208-777-5339. And if you guys want to put that information under the video, that would be great. That would be fine with me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I would love to come back on, anytime. This was a really good conversation. I've just gotten to a point when I used to do shows and stuff or just anything, I would try to ask my guys, okay, what am I supposed to talk about? What is this? What is that? But this has been really good because it's just been, I didn't do that. I haven't done that the last couple that I've done. It's just been more of a free flow. And I've just let the energy go where it's going to go,
That's the way we like to do a show too. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit of, starting off in one direction, but knowing that there may be 15 rabbit holes that we want to go down. And it's okay because, you could always come back on again. And so I think it makes it a lot more interesting. And you could usually get more stuff out when you just have a good conversation than when something is pre-planned and okay, we're going to talk about this or just whatever it is,
Yeah, it doesn't allow the energy to flow freely. My guides just said it just doesn't. It's better when the energy is just flowing. It's more authentic. And it touches people in a different way. It triggers things in them for healing in a different way than if it's thank you, overly structured. So
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
all right. I'll get in touch with you through your email and we'll
Okay.
schedule a show again.
Okay. Sounds good.
We really appreciate it.
We appreciate you
and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your words have helped me, I know.
Oh, good. I that's really just what I'm trying to do is just, I'm trying to help the collective, the Christ consciousness, just everybody. I'm just trying to help everybody heal and clear things so that they can get out of fear energy and sadness and forlorn and, unworthiness and all these different false paradigms that we've been indoctrinated with since birth, really,
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
All
all
right.
right. Well, it's been great, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing from you. Thank
Absolutely.
you. You guys have a great rest of your evening.
All right. You too.
And be careful.
Be careful.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Elena.
That was an awesome
Yes.
show. We actually went a little bit over because, we talked a little bit before and
Yeah,
it
she
was only
just
going to go to about 15 minutes after, but but she gave us almost another 15 minutes. So
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, we thank you for your time. And, we're going to have this conversation with her again. So everybody, sorry, Cindy, we didn't get to say what it was that you was wanting us to ask a question about. Please, when we reschedule this, come back and we'll make sure that before the end of the show, we ask all your questions.
Yes.
Won't we?
Yes.
And I want to say thanks everybody for showing up and chiming in and everything, giving us your time, right? Because there's other things that people could be doing on Saturday nights, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So remember next weekend, Saturday, the 21st,
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
8 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have Paranormal Paul from Paranormal Among Us podcast. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Really enjoy talking to him.
Yeah, we met him at the Bigfoot what was
Festival.
it? The festival
Yeah.
over in Townsend, Tennessee, and had a really good time. So we enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you, baby girl.
Thank you, baby girl.
Thank
you, Cindy.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't get to get her to ask that
No,
question.
I know,
but
that's-
next time.
We promise, Cindy. Yes, absolutely.
Well, we'll let you go, and we'll be back Thursday with a little hour-long show.
Yeah, we'll do something on Thursday. We'll figure out what it is. It's funny though that 2 of our past shows showed up in tonight's show.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and one of them was just Thursday show.
Maybe that was getting us ready.
I think it
for
was.
this show.
I really did. I think it was the universe saying,
Yeah.
you need this information because it's going to carry over into this conversation.
Yeah. It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
She really positive person.
Yeah. Yep. We'll have to get into some other stuff with her next time. Oh, thanks everybody. And if you remember, you can find us at paranormal411.org. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. Tune in live every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays from 8 to 10. Remember, also on Saturday from 10 to 11, if you're in the metro Atlanta area, you catch us at WDJY-FM. That's 99.1 FM for listeners outside of Atlanta. You can still listen at WDJYFM.com, or you go to paranormal411.org and click on the link. Remember, we are on Subspace Radio on all major podcast platforms. We do have a book out. Yeah.
Yes.
East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2. That is East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore Edition 2. It is available on Amazon or at paranormal411.org. Join us.
Yeah, join us. And we'll see you guys Thursday.
And remember, I was wanting to say this real quick.
Okay.
Also on paranormal411.org, a lot of our Thursday shows we put into blogs.
Oh, yeah.
So you could go read a lot of our Thursday shows. They're very interesting.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Have a good night. Have a good weekend. And we will see you next week
See you
on
later.
Thursday.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.